Well, hey everyone, and welcome to another tactical review live stream. I'm glad to have you here. And this week has been a little bit of a cluster, so I definitely apologize for that. Hopefully I can start getting things back on track. I had a really busy weekend last weekend, so I had the very late release of this week's canned video, which you guys can go back and watch if you didn't get a chance to watch it during the premiere. We looked at the 18650 in the Streamlight rail mount HLX. And then I absolutely did not have as much time to dig into all of the things that have happened this week, and even while I was prepping for the live stream, I kept finding more stuff. Jeremy Wilson, hey, how you doing, man? George Washington, any word on the interstate compacts? No, hang on, I've got to even look at that. I have so many tabs open right now that, yeah, I think that Chrome may end up crashing. Well, I don't see any new news. Two hours ago. It's talking about destroying the Electoral College, this article is. Anyway, may want to close some. Yeah, Jeremy, what I'm hoping is that as we go through news stories this evening, I will be able to close some. So I'd like to give just a few more minutes for folks to get in here. So while we're waiting, I will take advantage of one of these open tabs and share a really crazy deal I saw just the other day. If you are looking for it's a daily deal. If you are looking for a slide rider for your EDC, or you're just wanting to give a red dot on your pistol a try, and you're cool with a simple 3MOA dot, right now, boy, I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but we're gonna risk it. Palmetto State has the Hollison 407 on sale for $170 with free shipping. So there you guys go. Brownies for my fat. Howdy, Vanessa. You're early this time, Vanessa. Usually you're getting in here 10-15 minutes into it. So just ordered a red dot. It was $34.99 with free shipping. Do you remember the brand on that red dot you got, Jeremy? So part of it depends on what you're wanting to do with it. I passed on to the next person. The first red dot I had on my AR came with it when I bought it. I think they go for like $12, and the only problem I ever had with it, it held 0 great. It just ate batteries. If I forgot to turn it off, the battery would be dead the next day. So a lot of times that's what you're losing with those cheaper optics. Okay, it's not the only thing. So if it's a Life or Liberty gun, I'm gonna tell you really probably ought to grit down and at least get up to the $120 price point. But for a range toy, man, put what you want on it and beat the tar out of it and let everybody else know how that's going. So Sniper RD 35 30M, well, let me see if I can give that guy a 3MOA dot. Is definitely, it's big enough for quick acquisition and small enough that you can reach out with it without like covering your whole target. So okay, you know, they've got a lifetime warranty on it. Worst case scenario, if you beat it up and it quits holding 0 or whatever, just take advantage of that warranty. So, yeah, George Washington, on a Life for Liberty gun, I'm going to have a preference. I like the EOTech reticle. That said, Trijicon just came out with a new optic. I saw Military Arms Channel had it on his Instagram. They have a new MRO, I think. Anyway, it has the EOTech 65 MOA with a dot in the middle. Other than that, I think I'd trust Hollison. I trust Hollison on my EDC pistol, and I think that I would trust a Hollison 510 on a rifle for Life and Liberty. Lots of state police departments are trusting the SIG Romeo 5, and I've seen a lot of good reports out of that from other folks. So definitely on an intermediate cartridge rifle, I'd go with that. I don't know what I just heard, but okay. So yeah, if that kind of gives you an idea, I would start for a Life and Liberty optic around $100, $125, depending on the deal you're finding. That's just my personal preference. Once again, you've heard me say it a bunch of times. You're going to keep hearing me say it. Spend money where it comes between you and the ground. I wear $85 to $120 running shoes too, because I know I'm going to pound the pavement and put the mileage on them. So that just is what it is. All right. I am way behind already. Sounds like a plan. We're in Palmetto State. That's a can't watch 3 streams at once. I can't watch 1 stream at once. Great cheap red dots. Yeah, and shooting with Uncle Dan, you're right. My fear is that one day I would say, hey, this seems to work, and I would have, in my sample size of 1, there's a chance that there's always a chance you can buy from a good brand and you can get the one that is just junk. I'm afraid that I'm going to buy from a cheap brand and I'm going to get the one that is good, and then on my recommendation somebody would attempt to trust their life with it and lose it, and that's not something that I want on my conscience. So I will continue to always disclaimer, I have a sample size of 1 and I recommend, gritting your teeth. But there's a few schools of thought on that, right? It's kind of like the idea of buying a Taurus G3 instead of a Glock 19 because the gun in your nightstand is a better defender than the gun in layaway. So there's so many things that go into this, and you guys, I trust that you guys understand that, and I always want to represent that well, because at the end of the day, we are potentially talking about somebody's life. So break in, I like to actually aim with it. Okay. Boy, I did not say aim point or Hollison would hold out up as well as aim point. I said that I would trust a Hollison. Hold up. Okay. Red dot. I'd go with the tragic hat. Forget Primary Arms. Oh yeah, Primary Arms, Vortex. They make pretty good stuff. I don't know if you can see it back there behind me. Nope, it fell over. But I've got a Vortex Strike Fire or Strike Eagle 1-6 back there, and just didn't end up fitting with the mission parameters as well as I thought. Quality optic though. So hey, and Jeremy, I've bought more than one thing just for you guys. So alrighty, let's close out that tab, free up just a little bit of memory before the whole world comes to a halt here on my computer. So, as the title says, Virginia sidesteps House Bill 961 for now. I caught a little bit of heat on my Instagram a couple of days ago when I shared a screenshot from Gun Owners of America on their website where they said victory in Virginia. And I kind of presented it with very little commentary, and that's where it came back to bite me. My caption on this was, obviously we'll talk about this during the live stream tomorrow, so I shared it yesterday. But for now, remember that complacency is what brought us to this point. And I stand behind it, whatever. I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. That complacency is what led us to the point that the whole country was staring at Virginia with everything that's gone on, everything that is going on, and House Bill 961 in particular. Now, I too do take a little bit of exception with gun owners calling that a victory. It's a ceasefire at best, and I'm afraid, here's what I think, my 2 cents, and that might not even be worth 2 cents. I think that some of the Democrats in the Senate were smart enough to read the writing on the wall, and they would like to maybe stay in office after November. So they've put a 1-year hiatus on that. They've tabled the issue to do research. My question is, from where are they going to get their research? Because we have all watched as gun control after gun control after gun control after gun control has been heaped on for the last, well, a lot longer than this, but it seems like there have been some serious accelerations in the last 30 years, and probably within the last 20 years even. And we keep seeing violent crime go up in areas with more gun control. And so the political answer to that is more gun control. And then crime increases, and so we need more gun control. And so I'm wondering what sources they will use for their research. So, time will tell. For those of you in Virginia, and I'm not sure if anybody who's watching this live is in Virginia, do not rest on this. Keep pressing forward. And House Bill 961 was just one big, huge, egregious piece of legislation. But there were quite a few terrible Senate bills that did pass. And there's no question in my mind that the House of Delegates that passed House Bill 961 will absolutely put every one of those on Governor Northam's desk. And Governor Northam, good old Majesty Blackface, will sign those into law. So VCDL is going to have, and Gun Owners of America, and maybe the NRA will get in on it because they would like to claim, they're claiming the victory for victory. They're claiming all of the good things that have happened, even though they were silent up until the bill that targeted them directly. Anyway, they're going to have a huge legal battle ahead of them. So keep blowing up your state representatives' phones. Make sure that you get to the polls in November and start draining your local swamp as well. And I just saw, I was on Instagram while I was waiting for 9 o'clock to bring this live, and I did just see another new thing from the VCDL official Instagram page. And was this it? Yes, House Bill 421 it will dismantle Virginia's preemption law. So there is, copy link, paste that in here for you guys. And that's a mess. No, we're not going to do that. I hate when Facebook and Google and Instagram, when you go to click,
sure, but first you'll have to unlock your phone.
when you click when you try to click a link address, and it adds a whole bunch of mess. Anyway, the link that I just pasted, which it looks like it did not make that a clickable link in chat, so you're gonna have to copy and paste that. I'm very sorry. That is an action link like the ones that Gun Owners of America create, so that if you live in Virginia, you can reach out to your senators and tell them to oppose House Bill 421. So, and for those of you who are wondering, what a preemption law does is it disallows localities within a state from having different laws than the state. So it helps keep your laws kind of consistent across the entire state. So we're going to be talking more about preemption laws in a couple of other situations in other states as we go through tonight's stream. So it kind of serendipitous that was one of the things that we lead off with. Just quick scroll here through Instagram and make sure there wasn't something else that had caught my eye that I need to bring out. There is, but we're going to come back to that. All right, what's going on over here in the chat? Been pounding the pavement in Jefferson City and making phone calls. Of course, Missouri is probably the most freedom-loving state right now. Regardless, George Washington, that's exactly what we have to do. Indiana, aside from our fairly egregious red flag law, and I will say, and this is dumb. Okay, I want it repealed, absolutely. But I will say that the law does have requirements that there's a 5-day return window. So some of these states, if you are red flagged and you're proven innocent through the whole mess, I mean, you shouldn't be guilty until proven innocent anyway, but then they can sit on your firearms nearly indefinitely while they hem-haw around about getting it back. Indiana's does put a 5-day window on that if it's proven to all be erroneous and bullcrap in the first place, they've got 5 days to get your guns back to you. So, 2AEDU, welcome. Guessing you don't have any snow to shovel tonight. Probably, I don't know. Down here it's actually just a soupy, muddy mess. So, and yeah, congratulations on the Monroe County. What's the word? Victories. There we go. That's the thing I was saying. So, yeah. All right. It's really all I've got to say about Virginia House Bill 961. Everybody has to keep pressing the issue. It was not struck down entirely. It was tabled for 1 year while they do research. So, if they use FBI numbers and they compare them and they actually dig in and do their research and look at high gun control areas and look at the violent crime in those areas versus more freedom-loving areas and the violent crime in those areas, then things will go well for Virginians. If they do what they normally do and say, guns bad, bullet kill person, gun bad, well, then it's coming back next year. So, all right. So I'm going to start like going tab by tab through this 800. No, literally I have, I think, 20 tabs open from the last 7 days of different news. And again, I've seen things on Facebook and Instagram just this evening after I got out of church that I'm going to be hitting on. So we'll get through this, and yeah, and you guys keep chiming in because otherwise I'm staring at my computer and talking to myself, and I get in trouble for talking to myself all the time. My coworker will look up and say, "Will you shut up?" All the time. So have you guys seen on March 13th that there is a new movie coming out called The Hunt? And yeah, it's just the it's disgusting. The plot of the movie is that communists go through and round up Republicans and assorted other deplorables who don't support the left and murder them. So it's like the Purge, except it's all communists killing people who think that communism and statism is bad. The hypocrisy blows my mind. So nobody needs weapons of war unless they're going to use them to kill people who disagree with the left's political ideology. And they can say all they want, oh, it's just satire. It's just satire. But I guarantee you, if some right of the aisle or some libertarian, well, no, I don't even have to guarantee you that. Look at the news story that MSNBC just did about all of the Boogaloo talk. All right, that is some violent fantasy. Well, no, y'all, The Hunt is a violent fantasy. Us pointing at history and saying Sic Semper Tyrannis, that's not a violent fantasy. That's us saying, y'all just live and let live, or screw around and find out. Well, there's 5 more watch lists. I'm surprised YouTube hasn't cut the stream yet. Alright, what have I missed? Win. Okay, I've missed something from somebody. Okay, I know we were talking about a get-together, and I didn't know that anything had been firmed up. I must have missed a video or something, and I couldn't be in 2A's live stream last week. I was at a basketball game until 10:30, and then I had to be back at the school the next morning at 8 o'clock. So I didn't jump on the live stream. So I feel like I've missed something, and I'm going to have to go through and make sure that I'm up to date on 2A and Beretta Man's videos. I don't want homework. All right. Let's see, clicking through here. Okay, I was scared. I thought I missed some planning. I know we had talked about it, and definitely when a get-together is planned out, like, you know, Midwest Patriots picnic, whatever we call it, I definitely want an invite, and I hope that I can make it work with my schedule. So fingers crossed. I can say that, like, late May would probably work better for me personally, but I don't know. Anyway, What's this link talking about right here? Oh, so I'm trying to see if I can find a bill number on this. So basically what this article was talking about is that up in Washington State, that the anti-gun group Alliance for Gun Responsibility has their fundraiser on March 30th. And it's this article was talking about everything, all of the recent gun control that's gone bonkers in Washington. And here's some good stats. You know, while Virginia is doing their research, up in Washington, they passed I-594, which was their universal background check, which is what every politician keeps saying they want. Oh, background checks and background checks. All right. Either you're going to pass a background check and you're fine until something snaps, or you can't pass a background check and you're just going to steal a gun from somebody anyway, or buy it on the black market, or 3D print it, or whatever. More background checks aren't going to fix anything. All right, all they're going to do is infringe on law-abiding citizens. Anyway, so I-594 in Washington passed in 2014. 2015, there were 209 homicides, 141 of them involved firearms. 2016, the number went down, but there were 2 mass shooting incidents. 2017, the number jumped up to 228 murders, 134 of them with firearms. And then 2018, the number jumped up again, 232 homicides, 138 of those using a firearm. So gun control at very best doesn't help, and at very worst, hashtag gun control kills. Anyway, and then it talks about the nebulous description of an assault weapon in Washington. I'm so used to talking about Virginia that came out naturally. Anyway, Arizona has a law that's they are defining an assault weapon in there, and an assault weapon is a semi-automatic rifle that has the capacity to accept a detachable magazine. So your Ruger 1022 is now an assault rifle, if this passes. B, a semi-automatic pistol or any semi-automatic centerfire rifle with a fixed magazine that has a capacity to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition. So with this magazine, my Glock 19 is an assault weapon. That's asinine. That's stupid. I'm gonna have to start taking blood pressure medicine before I do these live streams. Talks about foregrips and blah 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 blah. So I don't have that Virginia or that did it again. Nevada or Arizona. I don't have the Arizona assault weapon ban proposal number ahead of me. Folks in Arizona, dig into that and then blow up your state legislators' phones. Keep in mind, okay, with all of these, we keep talking about we need to get rid of these scary assault weapons. These are weapons of war and have no place on our streets. In all of 2018, there were, I'm not even going to try to remember it, because then somebody's going to, fake news. So just one moment. That's not the one I needed. Here we go. FBI expanded homicide data table number 8. And you know, just in case anybody wants to fact check me right here, here you go, dropping it in the chat. If you're watching later, it's over in the chat right now. The link to my source. Rifles of any kind. Rifle deaths in 2018, 297 nationwide. So tell me again why these weapons of war need such heavy regulation when 1,500 people were killed with knives or cutting instruments in 2018. 672 people were killed with hands, feet, fists, elbows, etc. Personal weapons. Nearly 3 times as many people. Definitely more than twice as many. I was trying to find, where's blunt objects? Blunt objects, right there. 443 people killed with blunt objects. 297 killed with rifles of any kind. Any kind. Grandpa's Henry 3030. Okay, it isn't necessarily Grandpa's, alright? As a matter of fact, there's a, who is it? Is it Ruger? Has that really slick looking lever action 357 with the M-lock front end. I like the looks of that. Off track. Alright, I'm preaching to the choir. I know I'm preaching to the choir. I'm just getting frustrated and angry. So let's move into some better news. Okay. Oh, thank you, Brownies. Senate Bill 1625 there in Arizona. So Arizona residents, blow up your legislators' phones. A Senate Bill 1625 dead. Kill it. Let's see. What have I missed here? Talking about all of us getting together and chilling, maybe doing some shooting. Yep, Jeremy. Okay. Yeah, I want to be there. I will do everything I can to be there for that. Everyone to watch your 4473 video from yesterday. Alright, guys. I'm getting ready to talk about 4473s. It's like 6 tabs over, I think, and I've got a link that will be dropping into the chat that everybody needs to, if you center click on your mouse. Do I have my spare mouse up here that's not going to pull? Oh, whatever. So if you, I've got a gaming mouse. I don't even know if I'm up into, wait a minute. How about the one right in front of my face? So if you pick up your mouse, you'll notice that most of them, your scroll wheel clicks down. If you didn't know this, if you click on that, on a link, it will automatically open in a new tab. So when I drop action links and things in the chat, you can center click on those and keep the live stream up in one tab. I think that YouTube might automatically open it in a new tab, but I don't know. So now you know that. You can also right click and open a new tab. Anyway, better news. In Iowa has a House Study Bill 615 that prevents local governments from making the improvement or construction of shooting ranges more onerous than existing law. So basically they have a preemption law that disallows localities from making Second Amendment type stuff harder than the state itself has. This House Study Bill 615 includes shooting ranges in that, because you guys have noticed, like in Virginia, a lot of these anti-gun states, while they figured out that when they put a direct target on the Second Amendment, that we tend to, rally against that. But they're seeing that, well, if we can take out their ability to go train, we take out the second, we crumble the foundation of the Second Amendment. They start chipping away at that well-regulated part. And it's kind of like the whole concept that a dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp knife. Well, when your shooting skills are rusty, because I absolutely guarantee you that those are a perishable skill. I have personal experience to guarantee that. So if they can make it harder to go train, they automatically make your firearms less effective. So that, and I have something else here for Iowa that is SF 459, which allows employees and volunteers who have carry permits to have a firearm secured in their vehicle, even if their employer or where they are forbids. So that's a cool thing. Indiana has something similar to that for teachers and school staff members, that even if a staff member isn't somebody who has been blessed by the crown to carry, okay, that's not quite. It's up to, in Indiana now, it's up to individual school districts whether or not they can allow certain staff members to carry. And then the state does have training for those staff members that includes like psychological training for having to put yourself into a violent encounter, and then a little bit of the psychological for post-encounter. So anyway, if you're not a staff member though that has been cleared to carry at school, you can still secure a firearm in your vehicle in the parking lot regardless. And then, you know, you still have to fight your way to your weapon, but it might be better than the weapon that's sitting at home. I don't know. Well, once again, some numbers to keep in mind in the very rare instance that you find yourself in the environment of a mass shooting or an active shooter. There we go. An active shooter. To be a mass shooting, there have to be 4 victims. So where an active shooter is just somebody who's went and got dumb. But those incidences tend to be over in 3 to 6 minutes, and typical law enforcement response time nationwide 10 minutes. So if you have to scramble to your car to get your tools to go in and go to work, you're still probably going to be able to do that in fewer than 3 to 6 minutes. So there you go. And Brownies, you're on mobile. I think if you long press, you can copy the link. I'm not sure. I know watching live streams on mobile, the fact that you are chatting at the same time, my hat's off to you, because YouTube needs to do a lot to improve that mobile interface. The best I've come across is on my iPad Pro with a Folio keyboard case, and even that's pretty garbage. It's definitely not as nice as having like tab completion and app mentions in an actual browser. Okay, yeah, these are fun ones. Who wants to call Michael Bloomberg an idiot? Raise your hand. So Bloomberg, I'm sure you guys heard this. So last week, I think it was last week, it says recently surfaced. So in 2015, he said at an Aspen Institute appearance that, and I quote, 95% of your murders and murderers and murder victims fit one MO. You can just take the description and Xerox it and pass it out to all the cops. They're male minorities, 15 to 25. And that, friends, is not how you get voters on your side. So, yeah, because of those comments, He's actually he's let me words. Every town for gun safety. They're trying to tell the media now, oh, we're independent of Bloomberg. That's he's so he managed to put his foot in his own mouth and then in the mouth of every town. But keep in mind that he did start the group with $50 million of his own money and just like provide something like $10 million a year to it. So there you go. Fun information there. Well, hi Mark 18. I don't know if I would have put it exactly that way. But he definitely, politically, he has definitely put himself in a position for that to happen. I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'm not the only one who said it. Unarmed minorities are harder to oppress, and the statists know that. So, yeah, well, way to put your foot in your mouth there, and by extension, way to just prove the racism of your anti-gun group. Keep doing things like that, Mike. That's, of course, I don't know what you're thinking, announcing your intentions to have Hillary as your running mate. That's not going to end well for you one way or the other. Either you have an accident because you lost the presidency and now she doesn't have power, or you have an accident because you won the presidency and now you're the only thing between her and the presidency. So, terrible idea. Not a wagon that not a horse I would hitch my wagon to. Matter of fact, I would push my wagon in the opposite direction. But you do you. You do you. All right, am I missing anything over here? I'm just kind of rolling through these. Like I said, just a whole bunch of stuff this week in a week that seemed relatively quiet, and then I got looking, and it just hasn't been. How many of you guys have seen or heard the news stories of kids getting in trouble for things like finger guns, or chewing their Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun, or all of this garbage and malarkey? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I remember, I think it was during a live stream, but I won't swear to that. Tim from Military Arms Channel actually had to have a conversation with his son's kindergarten teacher that ended with, started with something about, well, your son was making finger guns, and Tim just stopped and said, I'm just going to stop you right there, because you are not going to trample my son's civil liberties. And he said the teacher went white and spun on her heels and walked away. So, yeah, good stuff. Anyway, so this beautiful thing this comes to us from Pennsylvania. And guys, I'm not gonna lie, it turns my stomach that some of the worst tyrannical legislation, some of the most offensively, constitutionally repugnant news stories that we have coming across the wire are from the original 13 colonies. That just disgusts me. I digress. So there is a 6-year-old kindergartner who has Down syndrome, and last November she got frustrated in class. Now, if you haven't been around a 6-year-old recently, let me tell you, teaching them the things that are okay and not okay to say, that's a full-time job. Like, if you have a kid in kindergarten or even a kid in elementary school, fairly recently in kindergarten, and you get an opportunity to go talk to the kindergarten teachers, especially if you know that they're doing right by the whole educational process, you just go in and wish them Godspeed, good soldier. That's not a job. There's not enough money in the world to pay me to go in there day in and day out and deal with the snot and poop and puke and everything else and try to teach these kids basic math and reading when they're 5 and 6 years old. No, I will, my evil, rotten cat, I will go try to teach her to read and write first. Anyway, so this little girl who has Down syndrome got frustrated and I guess made a finger gun and pointed at the teacher and said, "I shoot you." And yeah, the school officials convened a threat assessment and called the police on this special needs 6-year-old. Now, if Down syndrome gives you the ability to actually shoot somebody with a finger bullet, that's something that I haven't heard of before now. All right, when you've got a high schooler who does finger guns at the teacher, and the teacher says, "What was that about?" And kid says something like, "Oh, you'll find out later." Hey, I get that maybe that's a threatening statement. All right? What if the kid looks at the teacher and says, "You're first on the list"? Okay, that's a threat. Maybe. Right, but a 6-year-old? A special needs 6-year-old? Are you kidding me? Everybody needs to grow some skin. Alright? Quit being so thin-skinned. Quit belly aching about hate speech that. I need a Snickers. I'm not myself when I'm hungry. Stiff drink maybe? I don't even drink, but this is going to drive me to it. Water, not vodka. Alright, I'm closing this tab. I'm sick of this. It's disgusting. I should probably drop a link to every story I've done. I've closed a lot of these tabs. Here you guys go. This way you guys can be just as sickened as I am. There you go. That's just... And just, I love this. The mom pointed out that these one-size-fits-all policies she pointed out that the one size. Anyway, she said that nationwide data shows that students with disabilities are disproportionately likely to be disciplined. It's almost like special needs kids a lot of times don't understand the social implications of what they do. Like my nearly 17-year-old who's a high-functioning autist. Yeah, sometimes he doesn't get why, like, touching somebody a certain way or being in somebody's face, why that's not socially acceptable. I mean, seriously, I walk around in public with these people who all I smell is burning clutch. All right, does everybody even still know how to drive a manual transmission? Right, they're not engaging their brains. Seriously, that's a threat? 2A, I mean, you get people griping at you about pointing a firearm at the camera, and that's asinine. But are you kidding me? Grow some skin over your feelings, engage your brains, and let's reclaim that oxymoronic statement called common sense. Okay. All right. Next news story, because yeah, I've got to keep moving. Got to keep moving because otherwise, well, for one thing, we've, believe it or not, been on for about an hour. For another thing, this one's another victory of sorts. On February 11th, West Virginia passed Senate Bill 96, which reforms their weapons preemption law. Passed with a vote of 30-2. So, on one end of the spectrum, we talked about earlier a state trying to abolish their preemption law, but West Virginia has actually expanded theirs to where it covers more than just firearms now. It now covers, it just says any deadly weapon. So blackjack, gravity knife, switchblade, nunchucks, whatever. If it's an arm, okay, the right to keep and bear arms, it's now covered under West Virginia's preemption law, which basically means that if the state says that this is okay, your county can't say, no, screw you, this isn't okay. All right, so that's good, and that was a Senate bill which passed the Senate, and I'm looking to see. It's been passed to the House, and I think that the House is also Republican controlled in West Virginia. So if somebody wants to confirm that for me, I'm pretty sure I read that in another news story. And once again, I'm just gonna start dropping these links down here for you guys. I'm gonna try to remember to do that. That way you guys, because obviously I'm just like 30,000 foot view on these news stories. Some of these need dug into more. Mark 18, gonna be 51 on the 21st. Just learned last year is not socially. I'll tell you who doesn't know that. Most of our politicians, a lot of our entertainers, because they've got a little bit of power, and power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the difference is, Mark 18, you do it, you're going to be charged with sexual assault. You might even go to jail for it. If you had some political clout, you could do that and then just disappear. Or the person who knew that you did it would not hang themselves in a prison cell while on suicide watch when the cameras mysteriously quit working. I need one of those the more you know stars. Okay. Couple pieces of legislation that kind of are flying under the radar, and one of these is good-ish. Pretty good, yeah. I'm gonna give this overall a thumbs up compared to most of the garbage that we look at. And one of these is bad because it's just mental. And so we're going to start with the bad news. This is House Resolution 2671, introduced by Representative Elliot Engel from New York. So you know he's going to be full of good stuff. And he has titled this the Flamethrowers Really Act. Yes, those question marks are in this. I'm doing it again. How about you guys are smart people and you guys can read while I talk about these things. So how about I drop the link in when I start talking about it? Anyway, so basically what he is wanting to do is to regulate flamethrowers the same way that we regulate machine guns. And what I don't know about this, though, is whether, because machine guns, for those of you who aren't in the know, it is illegal for a citizen to own a machine gun manufactured after April of 1986 with the automatic weapons ban of 86. It closed the registry, so we can't add new weapons to the automatic weapons registry. Because prior to 86, not only could you, the way I understand, all right, I was very, very young in 86, and so theoretically I could have been gifted something awesome, but I wasn't. I mean, because there was still a $200 tax stamp. But prior to 86, not only could you buy something manufactured, I'm going to assume that you could have Form 1'd say an AR-15 select fire lower, and then, you know, get your paperwork back and drill the third hole and go. Well, now it doesn't matter, okay? Give me a minute. Mr. Guns and Gear on Facebook yesterday linked to a lower parts kit on Optics Planet. It is a full select fire AR-15 lower parts kit. It has the auto sear, it has the hammer with the auto sear catch, it has the select fire safety, has everything you need except for the jig. All right, and I suppose if you're really good, you could drill that without the jig, but whatever. But the problem is that the second that you take an AR-15 lower and you drill an 1/8 inch hole in the very specific location between the centered on the safety and between the safety and the top edge of the receiver, as a matter of fact, as soon as you dimple the metal in the eyes of the ATF, you have created an unregistered machine gun, and it's a new production unregistered machine gun. Okay, so while I'm ranting about all this, because that's stupid garbage, okay, I should be able to do a Form 1 on that just like I can on a suppressor, and honestly, none of that should be regulated, but I digress. Anyway, what this doesn't tell me is when it talks about regulating flamethrowers like machine guns, does that include the new production clause? Inquiring minds want to know. Regardless, this is stupidity. Let me just look through here real quick, because I don't know that a violent crime has ever been committed within these United States using a flamethrower. I mean, I had the FBI murder statistics pulled up, and I didn't see flamethrower listed, unless it was in that other. Well, let me just, I'm confirm this. Handguns, rifles, shotguns, other guns, firearm not stated? Could it be a firearm not stated? Maybe? How do you have other guns? Oh, firearm not stated. That would mean the police report just says firearm and they don't state what kind. Okay, gotcha. Knives or cutting instruments, blunt objects, personal weapons, hands and feet, poison, explosive, fire. I mean, there were 72 deaths in 2018 from fire, but it doesn't specify whether or not a flamethrower is used. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that nobody's using flamethrowers to commit violent crimes. So explain to me again, Representative Engel, why do we need to spend taxpayer money regulating this bullcrap? I mean, if this is the kind of crap you're going to do during your legislative session, thank you for explaining once again why we need to go back to per diem pay for our legislators. And thank you once again for reinforcing the fact that we need term limits to get knob-gobbling turd nuggets like yourself out of there. Knob-gobbling turd nuggets is a technical term. It is also trademark pending. It's not really. Go ahead and use it. Okay. Better news. Let's go better news now. And Mark 18, absolutely. Don't register your flamethrower. How do you use... I mean, I know you're being facetious, but how do you use a bump stock on a flamethrower? I don't know. All right, our next story comes from, once again, from Washington. I introduced, it's House Resolution 5301, and we like this one overall. Okay, maybe that's the royal we. Let me just introduce it, and then I'll tell you my one problem with it is that it shouldn't need to exist. But is a rewording of the Gun-Free School Zone Act, taking into account constitutional carry. As it is worded now, current law found at 18 USC 922 Quebec 2 outlaws carrying a firearm unless the individual possessing the firearm is licensed to do so by the state in which the school zone is located or a political subdivision of the state, etc., etc., etc. So the problem is we now have 16 states with constitutional carry. That is not a problem, obviously. But the problem is that the current law says that if the individual possessing the firearm is licensed to do so. Well, in a constitutional carry state, there's no license required. So this House resolution that's been introduced just changes that wording to say that that the gun-free school zone outlaws carrying a firearm unless the individual possessing the firearm is in compliance with the law of the state. So overall, a good thing. Like I said, my problem with it in its entirety is the Gun-Free School Zone Act has led to it's implicit in my mind, irrevocably tied to every school shooting since it was enacted in the early 90s, from Columbine to just keep going through. So the Gun-Free School Zone Act needs to be repealed, which would render this verbiage moot. You know, the only permit any of us should need is the Constitution, and in that case, You can tell who the bad guys are. They're the ones who draw first, and they will be the ones who end up with more holes in them. So, right. There's a good article released on Valentine's Day refuting the garbage that the gun grabbers always spout, which is, it's for the kids, think of the kids, etc., etc., etc. I'm not going to go through that. We all know, we all understand. It's not for the kids. It's not about the kids. It's about control. Don't need to go through that one anymore. We all know that. We all understand that. The link is up in the chat if you want to read it yourself. There's been a federal lawsuit filed against Arms List due to the February 2018 death of Chicago Police Commander Paul Bauer. Matter of fact, the 2-year anniversary of his death was last Thursday. And anyway, the firearm used in this murder at one point or another through its sales and all that went through Arms List. So they're suing Arms List, but for this to stand up in court, I'm sorry, but we need to sue the breweries or the vendors, distributors of whatever alcohol somebody was inebriated on every time there's a death that's in which alcohol is implicit, whether it's aggravated assault that leads to a death or whether it's a drunk driving accident. We need to sue automobile manufacturers if their vehicle is used in a hit and run that results in a death. I mean, if we're going to apply this logic, and in this case, because we're suing Arms List, not Glock, your local car dealership needs to be liable if a vehicle has ever gone through their lot, ever, in its lifespan, and is then used to kill somebody. All right, your hammer. If somebody uses a hammer to bludgeon somebody, Home Depot is implicit in that death. I mean, if we're going to apply this logic, apply it across the board. Hashtag same logic. Okay, off that soapbox. Now we are getting to what 2A EDU was talking about earlier. The ATF is wanting to rearrange the Form 4473. Is this what you're talking about, 2A? I haven't watched your video. Like I said, I've gotten behind on things. And Mark 18, yeah. Fat people should be able to sue Spoon and Fork, the manufacturers, the forges or foundries or whatever where they're created. Walmart or Goodwill or wherever they bought it need to be able to sue McDonald's for being fat. Because if we're not going to take any personal responsibility, it needs to apply across the board. It's funny how we keep coming back to that. All right. Anyway, 2A EDU mentioned Form 4473s. I don't know that this is what he was talking about. But the ATF is wanting to rearrange the format to where, because right now, if you have a paper 4473, it's like 2 or 3 pages long, front and back, and your name, the purchaser name, goes on the front of this page, and there's some other stuff on this page, and then the serial numbers and whatnot go on this page. Now obviously this is not a 4473. As a matter of fact, I think I remember reading somewhere that you're not allowed to show pictures of a 4473 because it's something about that would help somebody. I don't know. The ATF is stupid about the 4473. Anyway, what they are wanting to do is they are wanting to change it to where your name's here and the serial numbers and everything that of what you are buying goes here. That means they have one paper that they need a copy of to start creating a gun registry. And friends, mark my words, registration is the first step towards confiscation. Source, read your history book. Read your history book that was printed at least a decade ago. I'm not sure I trust the new ones. Maybe 20 years ago. Here is our Ammo Land news link. Yes, most of these come from Ammo Land. Ammo Land is collecting them from elsewhere. This particular story comes from Gun Owners of America. And speaking of which, I do have an action link on this one. So what I want you to do is go to the link I just dropped in chat. I'm going to make sure that that goes into the description text of the video. And that gives you a handy dandy, fill in the blank, the Gun Owners of America quick link political action box. I don't remember what they call it. Doesn't matter. You put in you put in your name, you put in your email, your address, you hit next, and then they've got a form letter already set up, and they've got the recipients already set up so that you can take action politically, send it to the people who need to see it, and just blow up their inbox and let them know that you oppose it. And in this case, they have to accept public commentary on this until February 24th. So it's February 19th right now. We have 5 days. Blow up that link. I will be putting that actually on my Facebook. I'm going to leave this tab open. My Facebook, my Instagram, and it'll be in the description of this video. If you've watched so far, we're an hour and 15 minutes into it, and good for you. That's some dedication. If you're not watching it live, I'm humbled. I'm humbled that you've stuck with us this long. So, speaking of that, the last few news stories I had, they're just why we should oppose red flag laws, things like that. More red flag laws in New Jersey. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. It was a little slipshot and scatterbrained tonight, so we had really good conversation going on. Super appreciate it. If there's a major news story that I missed that you guys have seen, actually there is one that I missed as I'm starting to go hoarse. And I keep talking about my Facebook and my Instagram. That's up on screen right now. If you're not following the channel, head over there and do that. I've been sharing a lot of news stories here in the last few days. Haven't really had an opportunity to get anything new ordered in. But speaking of news stories, if you're not aware, to use a comparative analysis on this, Germany's gun laws are so strict that Germany basically makes UK, with their gun laws, look like UK makes most of the United States look with gun laws. In spite of that, I don't know how recent this is. Mr. Guns and Gear posted this on his Facebook page, so let me pull that up. Anyway, there was a shooting in Germany, and with all their gun laws, if gun laws truly worked, it should have been impossible. Obviously, though, I know, once again, I'm preaching to the choir, and you guys understand this. You guys have some common sense. Actually, in this this was super recent. This posted earlier today. Happened at about 9 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, which would have been 9 o'clock. It's 5 hours ahead, so about 4 p.m. Eastern. There was a shooting in Hanau, Germany, that killed 8. So there you go. Virginia legislators, you're doing your research for the next year. There you go. All right. So yeah, anyhow, if I see that I've gotten some thumbs up on this. If you're still watching and you haven't given me a thumbs up, I'd appreciate that. Share the channel. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And if you'd like to help the channel more than just helping to grow the channel, you can do that over on Patreon. I really appreciate my Patreon supporters. I did you guys dirty this week. I was way behind on my editing for the flashlight video, and I didn't get you guys the early access that I usually try to get, and I do apologize for that. Anybody who's in the chat, feel free to shout yourself out. If you've got a channel, I know I saw 2AEDU. He's been just absolutely blitzing the videos for the last couple of weeks, and he does a live stream every Friday around 9:30 Eastern. Jeremy Wilson, he has a channel. He's had some personal stuff happen in the last few months, and so he slowed down, but he did say last week he's going to be picking that back up. Shooting with Uncle Dan, I seem to recall he puts out videos. Shout out to a couple guys who aren't here right now, but we have Brettaman. I just actually watched his Tac Pack unboxing video for the February Tac Pack. We have Poor Conservative come in here a lot, and I haven't seen him tonight, but I know he puts out videos. Brastard762, just all sorts of folks. I'm missing so many people. If you guys watch this later and I forgot to shout out your video, I apologize. That was not meant as a slight. I have so many awesome supporters who are also content creators. I couldn't hope to name everybody who has supported my channel either verbally or shared or subscribed. Thank you guys so much. Subscriber numbers still going up. We are getting ever so closer to our 250 sub giveaway. So we have a few flashlights and a dump tray for that. So appreciate everything you guys do. Yeah, Mark 18, they do. They want to end private firearm ownership entirely in Germany, and this is the second shooting event in 3 months, 2 or 3 months, in a country where private ownership of firearms is so heavily regulated as to be nearly non-existent. And even if you do get in a situation where you're able to own the weapon, it's illegal to even shoot at human silhouette targets in Germany. Self-defense is not considered a valid reason to want a firearm. It's ridiculous. Here a few years back, Iraq veteran 8888, they were doing like gun laws around the world, kind of. I think that they were doing it as like a gun gripes or a firearms facts, but they had somebody come in from the UK and talk about their gun laws. They had somebody come in from Australia, somebody from Germany. Those videos are really worth watching, really eye-opening, and it's not gotten any better since then. So Anyway, I don't have anything else for you guys. Appreciate you guys watching. It's getting on towards 10:30 here, and it's yet another early morning tomorrow. So until next time, shoot straight and stay safe.